Panda! Hello! I'm Alex, Mr. Panda.
And I'm Tifa, Crystal Dragon.
We're here to share our list of the top 30 games we'd like to see on the rumored SNES Classic.
Like the NES Classic before it, we hope that the miniature Super Nintendo comes packed with 30 awesome games.
There are so many that it was hard to choose.
We tried to keep it somewhat realistic, so we didn't include licensed games.
But there are still a lot of great games to choose from.
Without further ado, here's our top 30.
Let's face it, this list wouldn't be complete without Mario's first 16-bit classic, Super Mario World. This game is a masterpiece in all forms of design, whether level, graphic, or sound, and the fun factor is off the charts. Yoshi, the Cape power-up, secret exits. I love this game, and its likelihood of appearing on an SNES Classic is pretty much given. How could it not be there? The sequel, Yoshi's Island, the Green Dinosaur's first solo outing, is also a great game in its own right. The chances of it appearing are a little lower, since the game's use of the Super FX chip seems to have prevented it from being on the Virtual Console in its proper form. Still, this game gives me fond memories, and I'd love to see Yoshi and Baby Mario's Misadventures finally get a re-release.
We're probably cheating with this one, but we'd love to see this 16-bit remastered collection of Super Mario Bros. 1, 2, 3, and the Lost Levels make it to the SNES Classic. Regardless of whether or not it counts as 4 games, the compilation would make the mini-system feel more complete. We know this list is pretty Mario heavy, but we're sure Nintendo can't resist having their mascot Plumber abundantly represented. Plus, Super Mario Kart is the original mascot kart racer that made the series what it is today. While Mario Kart 8 and its deluxe form take the series to gravity-defying heights, fans owe it to themselves to experience the series' roots.
Rare's Donkey Kong Country series are some of the most graphically impressive games on the hardware. At least they were at the time. Regardless, these are some of my favorite platformers ever. The level design is masterful, and David Wise's music is legendary. If I could only choose one to include, I'd have to go with my personal favorite, DKC2. But please, Nintendo, convince Rare to put all 3 on the system.
You were probably waiting for this one. Of course we want The Legend of Zelda, A Link to the Past to be on the SNES Classic. This legendary title that set the precedent for every subsequent Zelda game, except Breath of the Wild, is so likely, and it's just a question of when it will get announced as opposed to if.
On that same level is the just as impressive Super Metroid, which took the original adventure game's premise and expanded upon it in every way. Just like with Zelda, I'm certain Samus's iconic mission will appear on the Classic. The question is, do we save or kill the animals? Although Super Punch-Out is far less known, it's highly likely to be on the compilation thanks to its first-party status. No complaints here, because the Little Max arcade boxing game, sequel to one of my favorite games on the NES, would be a knockout edition.
Starfox was a marvelous on-rail space shooter that utilized the Super FX chip for impressive polygonal shapes pre-Nintendo 64. That chip is probably the reason we never got a re-release on the Virtual Console. But if Nintendo can work it out for the SNES Classic, this is one of our top desired FX chip games. Pilotwings was a first-party launch title for the SNES, which likely gives it top billing for a classic edition, regardless of what you may think of the game. Though we weren't big fans, it makes sense to include this flight simulator for its impressive use of Mode 7 to rotate and scale its backgrounds for a true sky-high feel.
This leads me to the other Mode 7 heavy game, the futuristic racer F-Zero. This first-party title, introducing the world to Captain Falcon, has seen numerous re-releases. It's a shoo-in for the classic Falcon Punch! So why not pick the least likely Mode 7 game to make it? Yoshis Safari was a spin-off that required the Super Scope peripheral that allowed you to shoot enemies while riding your green steed. Though it's certainly a unique experience, I'd have to wonder if Nintendo would even be willing to pull this off. Still, it had Yoshi, and I enjoyed it at the time.
A puzzle game that is nothing like Tetris, Tetris Attack is actually based on the Panel de Pon series, also known as Puzzle League, with a fun mechanic that tasks you to swap blocks to form 3 in a row and cute aesthetics from Yoshi's Island. This would be a great addition to the system, despite having never been on Virtual Console.
Another Mario game? I assure you, this is much different than the typical platformer. A joint venture between legendary RPG developer Square and Nintendo, Super Mario RPG introduced the Mushroom Kingdom to turn-based battle systems with a flair of button timing. It also introduced us to our favorite neglected puppet, Geno. Super Mario RPG would be likely to appear on the system, assuming Square Enix was on board.
And while we're on the topic of Square Enix, here are the other games we'd like from them. First off, we have both Final Fantasy II and III, or 4 and 6 following the series' true numbering. Both games gave us endearing characters, awesome active time battle systems, amazing music, and high-quality sprite work. If we could only choose one to include, we'd pick 3 for its cast of characters and excellent villain, though we'd hope to see both of them represented.
Chrono Trigger. It's a classic, and its die-hard fans will tell you it's their favorite game of all time. This journey takes you on a whirlwind tour through time, with lovable characters designed by Akira Toriyama of Dragon Ball Z fame, and a breathtaking soundtrack that I still listen to today. There's no definite chance this game would make it on the collection, but we have to dream.
Secret of Mana is another game that may or may not make it, depending on what Square Enix gives, but let it be known that we'd love to see the multiplayer action RPG find a new home on the SNES Classic.
The same goes for ActRaiser, which is the only of these Square Enix games actually developed by Enix. I'm not sure this hybrid between action platformer and city building simulator would be Nintendo's first choice on their miniature Super Nintendo, but it's a unique title that deserves more exposure.
Continuing our third-party lineup, Konami's Super Castlevania IV is a sensible pick, bringing a series already represented in the NES Classic to the 16-bit era. The game looked and played wonderfully at the time, so why not include this game so we can lay waste to Dracula all over again?
Another well-known Konami game, Contra 3: The Alien Wars, also deserves a spot on this list, with its series also represented on the original NES Classic. Though I haven't played the other Contra games, I enjoyed this shoot 'em up a lot, and I think it has a good chance of being included. On the flip side is The Legend of the Mystical Ninja, a game whose series I adore, but who knows if we'll get the game on the Classic. This hybrid of traditional 2D and isometric 3D platforming was well received and has made it to Virtual Console multiple times, so there's definitely the opportunity. Hadouken!
With Ultra Street Fighter II on Switch being a thing, we may not see the original Capcom fighting game on the system. That would be a shame since we couldn't imagine an SNES compilation without the World Warriors.
The same goes for Capcom's edgier version of the Blue Bomber. Mega Man X is like the first series in everything but name. He still fires his buster and has amazing boss battles against robot animals. Though I'd love for more X goodness to be on there, I'd go with the first entry if anything.
For something completely different, Natsume's Harvest Moon would make a perfect easygoing title. With the focus on watering crops and raising animals, it would be markedly different from slashing foes and bouncing on Goombas. The series is still popular today, and its first SNES entry has already previously made it to Virtual Console, so we can see this happening. Going back to first party, or at least second party, HAL Laboratories' Kirby Platformers just have to be on the system. Kirby Superstar was known for providing 8 games in one, and Kirby's Dream Land 3 delivered a solid platformer while bringing back Kirby's Animal Pals. Though we consider the spin-offs, Kirby's Avalanche, a Puyo Puyo clone, and Kirby's Dream Course, Kirby Golf, we ultimately decided that Kirby's classic title should have representation first.
And finally, we come to EarthBound, that oh-so-quirky RPG that allegedly stinks. This story of 4 kids taking down animals, hippies, and aliens in a warped version of America is one of the games I looked most forward to for Virtual Console. And now that it's made it, the next logical step is finding a home on the SNES Classic. Fuzzy Pickles. It was difficult coming up with 30 games, especially third-party titles that deviated from the RPG genres, but this is an ideal list of what we'd like to see on the SNES Classic.
Let's just hope that regardless of what's on there, there's enough stock to go around so we can all enjoy it.
What did you think of our list? What games would you like to see on the SNES Classic? And what games that we missed would you like to see? Please share any thoughts you have about your favorite Super Nintendo games in the comments section below. And thanks again so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. And please check out our playthroughs of Snipper Clips and Snake Pass, where we attempt to play the entire game holding separate Joy-Cons. Thanks again, and until next time, bye-bye!